Good to have you on the program again. Of course, it still remains the economy today. And it's always a blessing to know that you are there to be part of what we're doing here. And of course, as is normally said, without you, there will be no us doing this. And so please stay. I believe you would enjoy every bit of what you will receive from us today. And of course, apart from enjoying it, there will be some lessons to learn to help, even concerning your economic matters. Okechukwu Onubogu here. We've also got someone that is a specialist to be here to share with me today on the program, and with us, really yourself and myself, to share with us on the program today. And looking at the topic we have for today, you see that's a serious matter that needs to be effectively handled the way it should be. And that's talking about the economy, growing the economy. Growing the economy and creating as well as empowering cottage industries. That's the main thing that we'll say. And as we go on, I'll let you know that I have someone that is a finance management consultant, a political economist. But apart from that, he is the one that is the convener of the G2C interface. That interface is a platform that bridges the gap between the government and the citizens. That's why I said G2C, government to citizens. And so you see, your interest is highly protected here, because someone that wants to make sure that it's well done between you and the government is here with me. I'm talking about Dr. BODE. GBORE. Dr. GBORE, good to have you on the program.
Good morning.
Yeah,
thank you for having me again.
Right, sir.
Good morning, Abuja, Nigeria.
Yes, and good morning the world, because we are going beyond Nigeria these days.
Good morning the world.
You're right. All right. And so the way we will be talking today, we will just share these things, and because there is need for cottage industries to be really created and empowered. Looking at the economy today, the making promises of giving us large companies and all that can give us what we want, and incidentally it becomes a problem. That is a problem, and that's why we decided to look at cottage industries, look at creating them, and not just getting them created, but empowering them, so that their contribution, the contribution that will come from these cottage industries, can enter the economy and lift our GDP and lift our what do you call it now, the finance base. And so that's all we'll talk about today. That's what we'll talk about today. Apart from the fact that we still know we have our segments, we have our news bits, we also do have our news from the business news. So it's a full package, really. Let me just take an opening remark, let me use it as that, from Dr. GBORE. Then we'll get back and watch what we have from business news.
Good morning, everyone, again.
Yes,
it's good to have you.
Yeah.
Or to have me here.
Yes, good to have you here.
Okay, so we're looking at building cottage industries, and I think I'll rather look at the entire conversation. First of all, from where are we coming from? You know, they say that if you don't look back, like the elders say that, you know,
if you don't know where you're coming from,
if you won't know where you are and where you're going to.
Yes.
You know, so I want to push back a bit to the foundation of the nation itself. You know, if you build a house and you build on a wrong foundation, what happens is you need a lot of patching, you know, as you keep growing that house. But if you have to be very constructive, you may not need to destroy the foundation, but you can patch better, you can do better in building that economy, this nation, and then the economy. If you noticed, Nigeria wasn't built to be a continuous nation, a continuous economy or governance. You usually have people who rule, and before you know it, when the new person comes, they disrupt the whole of the plan or growth or plan, or foresight, if you will, and then try to do something different. No, nations that grow focus on plans that are for long term, mid-term, long term, not immediate one or short-term plans. That's why you find nations who do 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan, which doesn't relate in any way to change of government. It's just a national plan. So for Nigeria, I'm looking at a situation where we own this country. I always say it when I come here that we have not really customized Nigeria and our economy. We haven't done that. We've tried to use different types of governance systems from other places. We've not really sat down to look at what kind of governance is even good for us, what kind of economy will be proper for us. So we try every other thing, and then we keep stumbling. But when we discover what kind of economy we should have, I think the matter of population that is large will not really affect us. I always say this, I've said it here before, that I believe we should change the type of governance we have. And if we do change that type of governance, it will surely affect the economy that we're having right now. It will surely affect. Why? How do you have 200 and 230 million or to 230 million people who are being governed one way or the other from one place? That's a large number. So we're trying to see who are the other people who do things like that. Even if you take a look at the United States of America, you find in some states that their constitution and their governance is different from another state.
That's correct.
So they have actually customized their whole nation and the governance in that place. We are yet to do that in Nigeria. And I don't think we tamper with the constitution enough. I think we should do that. All of these things find a way of affecting the economy. Let me give an example of what I mean by that. If we had a better structure, I thought I had some kind of stuff in mind, if you had a better kind of structure from the top that comes down to, say, geopolitical zones, and we had a plan that every geopolitical zone must have a power station, for example. That means we have a minimum of 6 strong power stations. Strong. It goes up that way into every single thing, and before you know it, you now begin to have industries under those geopolitical zones. Why? Because each geopolitical zone realized that they must be productive, and that productivity makes an addition one way or the other into the economy
of the
into
nation.
the revenue. I'm thinking, in my head I thought we have 774 local governments.
777? Okay.
774.
Okay.
That simply means that if we had a great plan and foresight, why don't we have 774 sources of exports?
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Because what it means is that you groom industries, small industries in every of those
local governments.
And you put in the youths, you train the youths and ask them to find, even if it is one product that they export. So you, from each local government, PM,
it just goes.
It goes. That way you have multiple sources of revenue. Let me use that as my intro.
Just a minute, and that also helps us when you talk about that. Then, if it happens, then we get to have 774 export processing zones.
Minimum. Minimum.
Okay.
Export processing
zones. And that will help, honestly.
Yes. I was in England on one occasion and I looked at the stores. I wanted to buy some chocolates. Do you know that the most expensive, I think, and the most quality chocolate I found on the shelf. They call it the chocolate of the coast or something like that. I think it's either from Sierra Leone or no, Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast, yes.
On the shelf in somewhere called Kilburn in England. Yeah. How come we don't have, even if it is half of chocolate processing industries from all the places where we have cocoa in the Benin, the Akure, all of these places where there is Western region. How come we don't have processing? Don't just give us cocoa beans and export.
Export it and relax.
Have industries. All of this anyway. I'll show eventually how I believe that the government, the federal government, must begin to invest heavily into smaller industries, especially by co-ownership.
Okay.
My suggestion, though.
Yes, of course. By co-ownership, that would be good, because when you mentioned this thing, I remember that we have had come to agriculture in particular. We've had Green Revolution. We have had Operation Feed the Nation. We have had Operation. There's another one that we're told.
You've had about 4, and there is none.
None of them is working right now.
None, and that's because we don't have this
continuity in governance.
Yes, in
governance, government policies as well.
And then we, I think we play politics too much with things that are important, especially with citizens. I mean, that gets to me personally, actually. How you just underplay the importance of the people you govern. I mean, that's funny. Because really, the reason for governance is to affect the lives of people positively. And that's even why we're discussing economic development as against, Nigeria's inflation rate has grown from this to that. GDP has grown from here to there. Citizens will ask you, what's the importance of that on my table? It's not affecting me.
No matter what you tell me, if I can't feel it, then it doesn't make sense to me.
And pardon me, and Nigerians, please pardon me. We've discussed this before. For the fact that I strongly believe that we do not have a reliable data system in this country, I find it very difficult to believe on the data analysis that we have. I find it very difficult. You can fault it.
Yes.
Even if you ask a Nigerian now, check from anywhere and say, what is the population of Nigeria this morning? Somebody says we are 200 million. And then you look at, you find someone says we are 230 million.
Which is the most
I have a personal belief that we are probably just less than 180 million.
That's a personal belief.
Personal belief. I have my name tagged to it.
Yes. And again, looking at this data thing you talked about, I remember that Dangote refinery came on board and tried to help streamline to give us exactly the quantity of barrels that are being exported from that country. And because before now they were talking about say 550 million. Incidentally, he came down to say that no, it's not up to that, it's 300 or thereabouts. So you see the gap. And when talking about this, he said that most of the time this thing happened because the fellows who were the operators needed to create that space so as to know, so as to find what they could make use of by themselves.
Benefits.
So self-aggrandizement, And so it could happen in the data thing you're talking about. Well, we'll still talk about a lot more of these. Just be with us, just stay with us, as it's still Dr. BODE that I have here, GBORE, of course, that I have here, and he is a political economist. I still want to talk about that one, honestly. He's a political economist. So we'll still share a lot about these things, but then let's take it from the
Nigeria's total public debt could rise up to 60.6 trillion naira by the end of 2025, raising new concerns about the country's deepening fiscal vulnerabilities. According to report, the federal government may borrow an additional 9.3 trillion naira or more in the second half of the year to cover its widening fiscal deficit, potentially pushing the country's public debt stock to around 50.2% of the pre-rebased gross domestic product, GDP. Nigeria's total public debt rose to 149.39 trillion naira as of March 31st, 2025, reflecting a year-on-year increase of 27.72 trillion naira or 22.8% from 121.67 trillion naira recorded in the same period of 2024. According to recent report by the Debt Management Office, DMO, the figure also represents a quarter-on-quarter increase of 4.72 trillion naira or 3.3% from 144.67 trillion naira as of December 31st, 2024. The rising debt profile comes amid sustained fiscal pressure, with the government increasingly reliant on both domestic and foreign borrowings to fund infrastructure, service existing debt, and support recurrent expenditure. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery in Lagos is currently going through a modification process to upgrade it from 650,000 barrels per day to 700,000 barrels per day. The upgrade, which is to add another 50,000 barrels per day to the facility's nameplate capacity, is expected to end in the fourth quarter of the year. President of the Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, dropped the hint during a chat with visitors and newsmen during a recent tour of the refinery in Lekki, Lagos. Dangote said the largest single train refinery could not reach 100% capacity this year due to the modifications going on, expressing confidence that the modifications would scale up the oil refinery. He disclosed that the refinery bought 19 million barrels of crude from the United States of America between June and July this year. Dangote noted that the U.S. supplies about 55% of its crude needs, having bought 10 million barrels in early July. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, raised an estimated 3.58 trillion naira through the Nigeria Treasury bills and open market operation in May 2025, according to a report by the Apex Bank. This represents about 75% rise from 2.05 trillion naira raised in April 2025 and demonstrates a show of confidence in the Nigerian economy by the investors. According to the government securities data by CBN, the estimated NTB and OMO offer to investors was at 5 trillion naira in May 2025 as against the 1.95 trillion naira in April 2025. A total of over 1.21 trillion naira was allotted, particularly concentrated in the 364-day tenure, which saw marginal rate adjustments across the month. Olayemi Akadoso-led Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN has jacked up the interest rate by 870 basis points to 27.50% from 18.75% at the start of the year to combat rising inflation.
From the business news, then we'll return here.
The first half of 2025 recorded strong momentum across multiple asset classes, with total market capitalization of NGX listed instruments rising by 16% from 112.60 trillion naira in January to 126.73 trillion naira by June. A statement by the Nigerian Exchange Group, NGX Group, on Wednesday said the growth was largely driven by equities, which increased from 62.76 trillion naira to 75.95 trillion naira. Fixed income remained stable at 50.56 trillion naira, while ETFs gained traction among retail investors, rising to 25.79 billion naira. Speaking on the performance, Group Managing Director and Chief Executive executive officer of the NGX Group, Temi Popola, just attributed the impressive performance of the nation's stock market in the first half of 2025 to a deliberate focus on structural reforms and strong regulatory engagement. Popola said that the NGX had worked closely with the Securities and Exchange Commission to enhance market transparency, promote product diversification, and strengthen investor protections. He added that their goal was to build a market that is globally competitive while remaining inclusive and resilient.
Hello, I know you've enjoyed a bit of that, talking about all that in a news package for you, and it's all business news, moving from the stock exchange, which has taken care of the one we would have told you this morning, and we've gone on with a lot more of all that, the tax matters and all. This political economist here with me knows how to talk about tax matters too, but that's not for him today. So we'll still continue. But you were saying something, Doctor, but you were saying something about where we came from, where we are, and where we're going.
Yes.
So where are we?
Okay, so let me take us back a bit. You know, a lot of Nigerian youths are not even aware. They heard it like history, not story, like history, that we used to have manufacturing industries in Nigeria.
Yeah.
In the days that the economy was good. In fact, I remember that one of our head of states, it must be Gowon, who said we had enough and we were just looking for people to give, or maybe we didn't know what to do with it. Something funny like that.
Gowon that said it. Yes.
Those were the days that we had textile industries in Nigeria. We had the footwear industries. We had the in fact, we were making batteries in this country.
Yes,
we were making vehicles.
Making Peugeot.
Was it Paja? What was this other? I'm trying to remember I think it was Indian kind of vehicles.
Yes.
We had all of those productions.
Yes, we had them
in Nigeria. I also remember that on the global, I'm going somewhere with this, that on the global forex market, Naira was on that global market.
Exactly. Naira
forex
was at a point higher than the dollar.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I remember that when my older brother was actually schooling in the US, trying to be a pilot and all of that, he used to send money home, and it was mint, Naira. He sent in mint
from over there,
from the US,
because it was of higher value.
You know what brings currency value up is scarcity of that currency. And the way your currency becomes expensive is if you have production.
Yes.
Without producing anything, let me be careful with that word. We don't produce enough to export. Those were the days we were producing and exporting, until we discovered crude, and then agriculture, textile exports, all of that began to come down gradually. And then we also did some kind of competitive marketing, which allowed importation of things that we could produce. If you bring in things you can produce, then you weaken let me call it almost monopoly markets of local producers. All of these things affect, one way or the other, right, the value of your currency, because now your currency has to jostle for the global currency, which I won't want to give that kind of honor to. The global currency that has to import things that we could produce. So we need to get back to self-sufficiency.
Yes, I remember we had the first foreign rice that came into this country then. That was 1976.
Was that Uncle Ben's or something?
Uncle Ben's, that's it. Uncle Ben's rice. You know, that was the only one that came in then. But before then, we had a Abakaliki rice we were enjoying.
The question
we had that
rice in Nigeria.
We had rice from in the north. You know, Benue rice and all that. Incidentally, these are different names of our rice that we had started fizzling away from the moment they started bringing in all these foreign
it was trade
foreign rice
liberalization that policy, which I don't think that we needed that. In fact, what we need, I believe in it, is strong. People don't think in this direction easily. What we need really is to begin to think from a self-sufficient angle. What that means is this: every single thing. Remember, we spoke at first that we need to have continuity and a long-term plan, foresight. Remember that.
Yes.
Now, every single thing that we can produce in Nigeria, we must stop importing. Every single thing. Now, importation must now be limited to importation of things or materials that we don't have,
and that are quite
machineries,
essential.
and
Quite
essential, and machineries that we cannot produce locally. Remember, Jakuta steel rolling mills.
Yes.
Most of this, our strength went all the way down, and then we began to struggle and bring in everything that we used to produce by ourselves. Now, that is to say that we have the capacity and the capability to actually be a manufacturing nation. I think I've established that.
Yes.
So let's get back to, I looked at an example of a nation that looks like us, even though there are not as many as us though. Let me remind you also that I said something about reducing the strength of governance at the center, so we can make our population, we can simplify our population. If you come down to geopolitical zone and spread ourselves out with each, I don't know if you call it premier from each of the local, geopolitical zones.
Yes.
Each of them focusing on their people and growing their people, growing their industries before coming to the center. Right? If you put enough of resources to that low level, what happens at the center, at the economy as a whole, is that you've had revenues that are coming from out of the country into those local areas. What happens by that is you grow an economy from the grassroots. So if I'm comparing a nation like Singapore, even Bangladesh, two major things are common between these two people. One, they are deep into manufacturing. Two, export. I give you it's dramatic to find out, right, that a great nation like Singapore does not have any credible solid minerals. But guess what? They are about the second or the fourth highest exporters of refined crude products. They used to be deep into textile in those days. That's at 1965. They had slums everywhere in Singapore. But they had a leader who had a foresight, who had a focus. Yes. And who thought, you know what? Our first problem is, you live in slums, let me get housing for these people first of all. And then he brought in some policy. Of course, people went against the housing policy, or he bought land from people at government rates and built homes for them. Moved people from slums, moved them into publicly built homes. 80% of Singaporeans live in publicly built homes now. That's solution to problems. Remember, I said customize your economy. That's actually the basis of this conversation. Of course, he thought, okay, where are we? We are an island. How can we take advantage of this? Remember, it has homes already. How can we take advantage of this island? Oh, we can build. They have one of the best. I think it's even the second best shipping port in the world. Second, I think it's only after Shanghai or something.
Okay.
They're the first. They built shipping, they built aerospace, they actually repair planes in such a place. So they focused on produce, manufacture, and export. Manufacture and export. Guess what they also do? They have like probably the third. They are the third federal FDI
direct investment company
in the world. The third, only after I think it was US and China that comes before them. That's a nation of barely 6 million people, right? And they insist you bring in investment into our nation. Every investment must be for revenue generating infrastructure. 100%. That's one. Two, if you bring your investment into our nation, you must, we're not collecting money from you, no. Build us industries here. And they take money, build schools, employ the business people, train our people. Before you know it, they are major producing country. They moved from those days they used to make textiles and all of that. They've gone deep into biotech, into ICT, deep into stuffs like that. And then now they export and earn a lot. I think that Nigeria can actually, if you look at Singapore, you look at us and you'll be ashamed that what is our own plan? You don't seem to have that. So I think Nigeria can take a cue from let's simplify governance first of all. Let's remove the strength that we have at the center. Give some strength to downward geopolitical zone, to states and all of that, and then empower the people. I have a few suggestions eventually that I think we should look at how we can now grow the Nigerian economy, especially from those grassroots levels, which is the point of our conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's it. Cottage industries and all that. Yes, it's important. It's good you have it at this point in time. We need to take Newsbeat, and immediately after the Newsbeat, we'll get into that segment so that our viewer will get to have that one too.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. We'll go for it.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency (NIMASA), in its role as the designated authority for implementing the International Ship and Port Facility Security (ISPS) Code in Nigeria, has shut down Shell Plex and TMDK terminals, both located in the Ijegun-Egba area of Lagos. In a statement signed on Thursday by NIMASA spokesman Edward Osagi, the enforcement action followed persistent non-compliances by the facilities with the provisions of the ISPS code despite several formal warnings. The move aligned with global best practices and is in accordance with Section 79F of the ISPS Code Implementation Regulations 2014, which mandated the closure of any facility that remains in violation for over 3 calendar months, the NIMASA statement reads. Speaking on the development, Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Dayo Moberiola, emphasized the agency's commitment to safeguarding Nigeria's maritime domain. In wielding the big stick, we acted only as a last resort, he said. Our primary goal is to enforce safety and security practices across Nigeria ports and jetties. At a time when we are collaborating with the United States Coast Guard to lift the conditions of entry on vessels from Nigeria, we cannot afford lapses that jeopardize our progress. Dr. Moberiola added that the facilities will be reopened once all compliance requirements are satisfactorily met, acknowledging their important role in service delivery and trade facilitation. The Economic Commission of Africa (ECA) has reiterated that innovation financing structure is the way out for the continent to achieve energy efficiency. The ECA said the wide gap in energy connectivity had left millions in Africa without electricity. The Commission noted that Africa is rich in solar energy but starved of investment. Speaking at the high-level political forum HLPF in New York on Tuesday, the executive secretary of the ECA, Clever Gatete, was quoted as saying that Africa needs a new deal on energy finance, one that supports innovation, strengthens grid, and builds clean energy industries that works for both people and planet. The continent holds 60% of the world's solar potential, yet attracts less than 3% of global energy financing, a statement from the UN Economic Commission for Africa said on Wednesday. Over 600 million people across Africa still lack access to electricity, even as demand for power surges with rapid population growth, urban expansion, and industrial ambition. While the world chugs of energy transition, much of Africa remains stuck in energy deprivation. Children in many rural communities across Africa still study by candlelight or kerosene lamps, exposing themselves to toxic fumes and limiting learning hours. Health clinic operators without reliable power and livelihoods are constrained by patchy or non-existent electricity. Energy poverty remains a major brake on development across the continent. The ECA chief described Africa as a paradox of potential and neglect home to abundant resources such as solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal energy, but still largely bypassed by international investment. Africa isn't just asking for help, it's offering answers, Gatete said. Energy isn't just a public good, it's a driver of jobs, industry, and transformation. As part of efforts to plug revenue leakages and strengthen Nigerian tax administration, the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) has launched a strategic engagement with key public sector stakeholders to address lapses in tax deduction and remittances across ministries, departments, and agencies (MDAs). The engagement, which brought together representatives of the FIRS and the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, held in Abuja, focused on the theme "Enhancing Tax Compliance Through Collaboration." The forum was designed to tackle persistent issues in tax compliance within the public sector and foster deeper institutional collaboration. Speaking at the opening session, the chairman of the FIRS, Dr. Z. Adedeji, said the primary objective of the two-day workshop was to co-design practical solutions and will close gaps in withholding tax deductions, value-added tax VAT remittances, and stamp duty administration among MDAs. Despite technological advancement through platforms like GIFMIS and Tax Pro Max, we continue to observe lapses in upholding tax deduction, VAT remittances, and stamp duty administration in the MDA space, Adedeji said. These gaps, many of which stem from technical limitations and knowledge deficit on tax compliance requirements, result in significant revenue losses and recurrent audit issues. He emphasized that the engagement was not a mere conference, but a strategic move to reset Nigeria's tax compliance culture through collaboration and capacity building. Our credibility as public institution is tested first by our own adherence to tax regulations, he stated. If we must grow revenue to meet our national development priorities, then we must begin by ensuring that public sectors actors play by the role and help others to do so.
Thank you so much, Bridget Mammon, for getting this down for us. Of course, it's a beautiful package there, talking about having Bridget Mammon, Esther Abraham, putting things together to ensure that Victor Yadeye gets it for us. Thank you, three of you. I want to thank you for this. We will go on the program still, and I still have BODE GBORE. BODE was getting to something else when I said, okay, let's hold on. And that, where he was getting to is how does it affect how would it happen that we not talk about these cottage industries so as to affect you, dear viewer? Sir, let's go for that.
Okay, so let me apply that from one angle, which is, how do you grow a nation? And, you know, a few things that my point on would be the same solution for where do we go from here in Nigeria. You of course, you know that medium and small scale businesses grow most of the economies in the world.
Yes.
And they employ the largest number of employees. If we apply that, as we said, from the local areas, from the grassroots, it means that you nearly will have nobody at the lowest level who doesn't have a job. Okay, remember also I mentioned something about this Singapore example, which is now about FDIs that come in, go straight into revenue focused infrastructure. So they produce and produce and produce. In fact, what they even did, as I explained earlier, was ensuring that the investors actually invest into building infrastructure, building manufacturing locations in Singapore. And of course, the government builds schools, technical schools, for those investors to train those people. An example of what China did, going to the US,
yes,
going to US to learn production and then bringing it back
and returning them to their country.
What happened in this case was just the opposite of it. Singapore brought those people into Singapore
their country
to train the people. So if you train people at that grassroots level, before you actually know it, as it is the case in Singapore, the low level skilled people become high-tech people.
Yes.
Become high-tech people. So if you're able to grow Nigeria in that format and ensure that every FDI brings in infrastructure also, or majorly, then we are becoming gradually a production-based country, which will become, of course, something we can export. What are the things we have? We have crude, but our modular refineries are not functioning. Why?
Yeah.
That's our example.
Yes,
that's a small model, and we're meant to actually have enough modular refineries all around the oil-producing states, all around. We're meant to have power generating stations all around where you find water, you find sun, and you find the same crude. Instead of gas flaring every now and then to almost nothing. So that is, for me, a way to come to the low level and grow the nation. Our focus has been too much into the big stuff. And the big stuff.
Sorry, I remember Professor Oshibajo mentioned this thing you're just saying now. For us to have it everywhere. And that makes it easy for everyone.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
So, I mean, let me even go back a bit to customizing our economy and our nation. I'm a bit passionate about that. Because you see, it's like a vehicle going from point A to Z.
Okay, straight.
On a straight line. But the people don't know where they are going.
No.
If you don't know where you're going, you will not know the right driver to take you there.
And you won't even know when you get there.
You won't even know when you get there. So if you ever get there, because you don't know where you're going though. So we need a united mind in this country. A united mind can only come from unfortunately, a policy from the general government that says, from this year to this year, we're moving from here to here. If the people can key into that, then we know where we're going. So every single time we find somebody else to lead us who is not taking us in the direction we all agreed to.
No.
We know you are not
the right
taking
way.
us.
Yes.
We are not going to arrive in there. So I think we need to have plans. Unfortunately, where was the last time you applied to Vision 2020? Vision 20. We're in 2025
now,
and we're looking at 2027.
Yes.
So we should have had a plan. All the plans we have for 2030. I'm not sure
how will they come?
work.
Just in the next 5 years.
But we can still have a
4.5
2050 plan. If you have a 2050 plan, that's 25 years from now.
Yes.
If we have, say, 5 leaders facing that same one direction, and what can the directions be? We want to have geopolitical zone power stations, and each one of you must give our nation 10 kilowatts, 20 kilowatts, 30 kilowatts. Each one of you.
That's great.
That's a focus.
Yes.
So you are going to do a 30 times 6 eventually.
Yes.
At the end of it. So one way or the other, you have a focus that grows, and each one of you, especially, remember I said something about the 774 local governments, you must be producing at those levels. You must be, if it's cashew nut,
yes,
you are producing.
Abundance,
if it is cocoa, you're turning to chocolate. If it is crude, you're turning to PMS and diesel. If it is fabrics, you're turning into garments. You must be doing. If it is fish,
yes,
you are turning to sardine, or you are exporting. You must be doing something. Even if it is spices, you're bringing from one spot to anywhere abroad. I mean, see, the federal government can only come in this regard by heavily funding those little sectors. Now I call them sectors. Those little industries, funding heavily. I also said earlier that they might need to co-own those companies. They might need to co-own.
If that is what will make it.
That is what will make it work.
Yeah, let it go on.
So once you come up with an idea that you have this to plan, it will lead us here. We'll fund you. Go and do it. We may give you people to manage it with you, but we will make sure that that works. Only federal government has the power to do that.
So divesting power would also help a whole lot.
Oh, of course.
To see that
almost everything moves forward with power. Almost everything moves forward with power.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Dr. GBORE, for coming. And you know something about time, when you're sharing something beautiful and you're enjoying it, you won't even know how far your time has gone and where you are. Incidentally, that is how it has been today. We are concluding at this point.
Yeah.
But I want you to give a word of encouragement to our dear viewer that has watched this program.
Well, we've had a very beautiful and sustainable nation. We're just lucky. I think we're just lucky. Secondly, I think that God just spoiled us and give us abundant resources, abundant resources, such that we don't seem to even know what to do with a lot of it. So each Nigerian, I think, should find something tangible to do. You see, we have done crude for such a long time. It is time for us to look at non-oil revenue, non-oil businesses.
Okay.
We have won the ground of crude. Each Nigerian should begin to come together. These are the days of coalition anyway.
Yes.
So you can form alliances and bring brains together and look in a direction and say, okay, this is the solid mineral we want to do. This is what we want to refine, and put yourself together. But I think that the government must now, I'm going back to that, must make policies that makes business, you know, the ease of doing business, makes it easier for people to come into business, get funded under some level of supervision, and export.
Thanks a lot.
Discourage importation. Discourage it heavily.
Discourage importation, and a serious
discourage
to do that in this country. Well, that has been Dr. GBORE, who is a political economist and a finance management consultant, that has shared with us. I wouldn't forget to say that he is also the convener of the G2C. That G2C is important, government to the citizen, G2C interface. And it's a platform that tries to bridge the gap between the government and the citizens. And we'll still keep getting him to come here as often as we can so as to share these things. Thanks a lot, Dr. BODE.
Thank you
Dr. GBORE. It's a pleasure. Let me also say thanks to you, dear viewer, for being there. I appreciate that a whole lot, and we do appreciate that. Thanks to Bright Chukwebue that has brightened our corner on a serious note. Thanks to Victor Adeyeye, to Pamileri Kayode. Thanks to many other fellows that worked with us today on this program. I wouldn't forget to say that there has been Victor Chizea, there's also been Felix Akinjagula, as well as Bridget Norman, as I mentioned earlier, and Esther Abraham, my assistant. This is Okechukwu Onubogu. I always want to say, may the best happen to us all the time.